Hi, everybody. I know, I've been away. A lot going on. The saga continues, and that'll play into this video as well, because it's important, and my cage is still rattled, as a matter of fact. And yes, I need a haircut. My appointment is Wednesday. It is to the point where it annoys me now. So, I made the appointment 2 weeks ago. It didn't annoy me then, but I have to wait this long. Regardless, something very important with narcissism, and yes, thanks to the comments, and surprisingly so, I am very happy with the comments and messages I've been getting requesting more Lilith content. I would have thought it would have scared the hell out of you, some of you, and you would have went running, because when I first started doing witchcraft videos, people started unsubscribing. It scared people. But if you really know about it and you're not trying anything to take advantage of people, you have nothing to fear about Lilith or witchcraft in general. Then again, if you are taking advantage of somebody, then yes, dark magic should scare you. You know, I have done my fair share of hexes to those who deserve it. Especially rapists, they always deserve hexing. I don't care what anybody else says. I'm going to keep hexing them. But, so yes, Lilith videos will be continued. However, important narcissism topic. And it's something I've been piecing together through the past day and a half. Because 2 days ago I was happy, believe it or not. And fellow INFJs know it's a very delicate balance. It's not easily obtained, but it's easily destroyed for us. So, this ties in a bit with the INFJ stuff, but it's mostly for those of us that have been through narcissistic abuse. There'll be some INFJ references because, as always, that is my viewpoint, because that is the way my brain is wired, for better or worse, mostly worse. But, so, even I, who try to help as much as I can people recover from narcissistic abuse and educate people that aren't sure what it is, because it's hard to explain if you don't know what it is, as many of us had for years. No contact, obviously ideal. When that is not obtainable, you do low contact. And you need that clarity of one or the other to get away from it. Because until you get away, you don't know how bad it is. But when you're low contact, when things are going right, when you're working towards whatever you're working towards, and then all of a sudden the narcissist comes back and hits you with both barrels, ooh, does it mess you up. And not only does it mess you up, in the heat of the moment, like, what's going on, but particularly dealing with narcissistic family members, people who've known you your whole life, they know how to twist the knife. And also there's that entitlement in them, like, but it's family, or they think you answer to them when you're an adult, and if you're an adult, you don't answer to them. Now, I know how to stand my ground with people trying to, use coercive control on me. It doesn't end well, because, been through it, know what it is, and sadly, if people in general are just being pushy, I'll probably err on the caution that they're trying to take advantage of me, and INFJ rage comes out. So, yeah, that's something else for those of you that, are watching my videos, or better ones, to get an understanding of narcissistic abuse because someone close to you or somebody you're getting to know mentioned it in their past and they're dealing with it. We're going to be tough to deal with from time to time, because narcissistic abuse is the gift that keeps on giving. And the crux of this video is the narcissist destroys your trust in people in general. Because understand, with narcissistic abuse, you can't ever trust a narcissist or their enablers. You are theirs to be manipulated and used as a pawn. Those of us that have been through it know what that's like, to constantly have to be on guard, to not be able to trust anybody's motive with anything, to always believe that if somebody is offering to help you, there's an agenda, because there's always been an agenda, and someone's always trying to manipulate you. And and the narcissist will use guilt trips and meltdowns and hissy fits and threats of violence, and they'll run the whole gambit. Rage, crying, pity, insult your intelligence, whatever they can throw at you. And they do. So that is the gift that keeps on giving. So if somebody, is mentioning they've been through narcissistic abuse, you gotta be easy with being pushy. Even if you're trying to help that person, you think it's for their own good, that person's gonna, go into fight or flight real quick because they've spent most of their life in fight or flight. And even after they get away from the narcissist, this will flare up occasionally. It's not like it's something we deal with every day. But this is real important. If somebody is low contact, or if you yourself are low contact with a narcissist, and they rattle your cage, as mine did to me, both of my narcissistic aunts, because they work together now. So, one will call and then the other one will call and talk about the same shit. It's like, oh yes, this puzzle is ever so hard to put together. What's going on behind the scenes? They think that's the other thing. Narcissists always think they're smarter than they are, and when you confront them, they never have any real answers. Like they can never. If a narcissist is telling you, like, oh, well, you got to do this because it's costing you this much money. No, it's not. Where are you getting your numbers? Doesn't add up. Explain yourself. Like, nope. So we learn how to do that as a defense mechanism. That's one way to try to push off a narcissist, is to tell them they have to back up their claims. Because as victims of narcissistic abuse, we over-explain everything because our whole lives have been one long trial. So we grew up having to justify every move we make, every breath we take, every decision we've ever made, every interest, every choice had to be justified. Yeah. So, when a narcissist is trying to manipulate us and get us to do something because it's, their way, and also they believe their way is the only way and that their way is by definition correct, without any backup, without any explanation as to why it is that way. It's like, that doesn't work like that. Yes, it does, Well, no. I'll give examples as I usually do. It's like, no, the trash company said fill out the online form for the dumpster because they have to calculate the mileage from where they are to where I live to deliver it. That's part of the price. No, you just call them. Like, no, I called them and they told me to fill out the form online. Like, they're the ones who work there. They kind of get to make the rules for how business is conducted with their company. No, I just know. Key thing of a narcissist, they just know. I know. I've done a video on that one before. They love that term, especially boomer narcs. So be aware of that. The narcissist can't justify their position. They'll fly into a rage and they'll try to berate you into doing what they want. I've mentioned that before. But what I didn't mention, what is important to realize, because I realize it now, is that after a narcissist rattles your cage, you're going to be messed up for a while. So, your adrenaline's going to be up. Like, no lie, yesterday, after dealing with these two narcs, yeah, my adrenaline was way up. I mean, sweat was pouring off me. My rings fell off my hands. They were sweating so bad. It was full-on parasympathetic response, fight or flight, and that doesn't just go away. It takes a while for that adrenaline to get down the baseline, because even after conversation's over and it's like you're suspicious of everything around you, anything, anyone. So if anybody's trying to be aggressive with getting you to do something and you're like, I don't know about that, and they keep going, it's like, what are you up to? What are you doing? Yeah, you're gonna assume the worst, and maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. But if you're someone who hasn't been, through narcissistic abuse, and you're dealing with somebody who's starting to question your motives and might think, you're up to no good, we have to be overly cautious. Narcissistic abuse ruins your trust forever for most parts. And if you're an INFJ, you're kind of born with bad trust issues. By kind, I mean you are. So, and it also can depend on the situation, whether it's, has a boss burned you in the past? Was the last person you dated a total liar? Did they completely misrepresent themselves? Because my ex certainly did. She told me everything I wanted to hear. Yeah. Well, it's the first devious ENFJ I've ever met. But nonetheless, you have to remember, those of us that have been through narcissistic abuse, you have to give people a chance to explain. I mean, you can't say guilty until proven innocent, but it's like, convince me beyond a reasonable doubt that I can trust you. It is like that. Like, we are in that, especially with new people. It's like, why are you being nice to me? You're trying to help me. Why? Because that we're just not, that's so foreign to us, because in our experience, when we were being raised by a narc and they had their enablers, or perhaps some of you that have been in long-term relationships with narcs, like that you live together or married and such, you're just so used to always being the pawn in some scheme, to somebody always trying to use you for a narcissistic supply, that anyone who would potentially be, genuinely helpful, you're just like, no, I'm not buying it. Like, nope, nope, not this time. So you have to be aware of that, and hopefully you have to also be honest with somebody that you think that you want to get to know. And I always tell people from the beginning that I have trust issues, because I do. It's not that I can't trust people. When I trust them, but it's like getting to that point. Trust doesn't come easy to me. Narc abuse and INFJ. I'm very selective. Usually, I still to this day question, like, why people would want to get close to me. Well, why, oh why? But you have to deal with that, because the gift that keeps on giving from narcs is, a lot of the times, those of us that have been through it see ourselves as like unworthy of love and affection and success, because we basically been told we are. Well, no, we have been told that we are. How many of you have been told to settle, to take a career that you hate, stay with somebody that you don't like, but the narc likes them, like a narc parent they try to map out your whole life, like, you do this job and you live here and you date this girl. Yeah, so there's that. My narc ants are still trying to make me a landscaper, because, I'm on my way to escape the cult, and they're always questioning my motives as to what I'm up to career-wise. And as you all know, I'm trying to get back in the modeling, which they absolutely despise, because, anything that could give me any measure of success or any adulation cannot be had, because I am forever the black sheep, labeled at birth. Just like my brother, the opposite, chronically unemployed, been to jail, drug problems, but he's still the golden child, because he's the embodiment of their belief system. He's done what they told them, and if he's a failure, that means their beliefs and their precious system is a failure, and they cannot accept that. No, 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 no. So there's that. Just, it gets better the more you get away from the narc. It'll go away over time, but be aware that after dealing with the narc, you're going to be at your worst. And it's not like flipping a switch once the narc's away or the conversation's over. Like, you're going to be down for a while, and depending on what your current situation is, it may be hard to get back to the baseline you were before you had to interact with the narc. And I'm talking about low contact, because there's the reflux again. So if you're constantly dealing with the narc, you may not even know what your baseline is. I certainly didn't for years. But it's bad with even in a low contact situation, dealing with the narc, you start to see yourself as what they've tried to portray you as all those years. And even when you reach out to people who know you well and they try to convince you otherwise, you're just so there's just this Pavlovian response to give up, to trust no one, to why even try. It's quite maddening. It's like, your whole life has been this fight just to be yourself, just to be the person you want to be, instead of who they want you to be. And they've been, fighting you the whole time. Perhaps, like in my case, actually doing things to prevent your success. My family certainly has. I mean, yeah, the recession didn't help, but they've done things. They've ruined jobs that would have got me out of state a couple times. Kid you not. Yeah, so when I say I have no family, I truly mean that in any sense of the word, other than, the few people that I completely trust that I consider family, which they're not around much because they live in different states. But yeah, it's for those of you that know what I'm talking about. You know that feeling where you're doing everything you can to get where you want to be, and you're going mad from the waiting to see if anything is going to pan out. It's like looking in the mirror, wanting to see the person that you want to be, the person that you fought to be, hoping that if you catch a glimpse of him, things are finally going to start to turn around, then you can break free of the past. But at the same time, you still see the same miserable piece of shit staring back at you, and you wonder sometimes, if you can keep on fighting, if you're fighting without gaining any ground. And if you're not going to gain any ground, what's the point of keep fighting? Because fighting's hard, fighting, whether it's physical or emotional or it's career-wise, when you're fighting for something all out and it's something you really want, it's maddening to lose, but losing if you get a fair shot, at least you know that you were able to take a real shot. If you're locked in a stalemate, you can't be locked in a stalemate forever. It's got to go one way or the other eventually. So, bit of a rambling video. I still don't have a cohesive thought process of all this, but as you can see, I'm a little different in this video and a little messed up. So, we'll see what happens. Being an introvert certainly doesn't help. I'll add that as a little caveat at the end here, that if you're an introvert type, especially if you've been hermit mode for a while, and if all of a sudden somebody out of the blue is trying to get to know you and you're dealing with narcs, you may be suspicious at first, and that's an impulse that you can't break. I always recommend, if you're getting to know someone, eventually you must speak face to face, be it over a screen or not. But as an INFJ, I need that, because how else am I going to use my introverted intuition? Which I have to. Because I'm not me without my introverted intuition. Like, I can't open up to somebody without using it. That would be like, if any censors are listening, this is a point you can understand. Let's say you're in a new city. You've always wanted to move to LA, and you want to get to know your way around LA. Well, now you're in LA, and you got to find your way around LA. But I'm going to blindfold you and rob you of your sight. You have other senses, but that's the primary one you're going to rely on to find your way around LA now, isn't it? So if you rob an INFJ of his introverted intuition, can't really see now, can I? It's like being blindfolded. It's like, what was that? Like, you hear, you're suspicious of everything around you because your most prominent sense is useless. Imagine like walking around LA with a blindfold. Every sound, anything that bumps into you is going to scare the hell out of you. So there's that, if that makes sense. So I'm going to hopefully get another video up. Probably a Lilith video. I feel in the mood to do one, but I don't know if I'm in the right mindset to do it justice, because I always overthink those, because they're very important to me. Because, I must make Lilith look as good as possible. Because she should. Because Lilith is awesome. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful for those of you that dealt with narcissism, know what I'm talking about, know you're not alone in this situation, and know that even those of us that have done a lot of research on narcissistic abuse, those of us that try to help others by making videos like this, that we still struggle with the effects of it, the emotional, the physical, the trauma effects, the fight or flight effects when we're put in that situation, even knowing that it's going on. We know, and I'm the guy who tells everybody to call it out, but when you call it out and, what you're saying doesn't register, like, they just disregard the fact that it's like, you have no information. Like, I'm not, like, the numbers you said don't add up. Like, oh, it's okay, just do this, 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 and this. It's like, that you're just making stuff up, So, yes, because the narc wants what they want, and they think they're always right, and there's no telling them no. And then if you talk to people who aren't narcs, but are, trying to convince you of something that you're apprehensive about, and your blood's up, you're going to go from, like, empath to liar real quick. you know, like kind of Anakin Skywalker-y. Not kind of, exactly like that. So it's something to be aware of. It's something, you know, you need to be aware of what state you're in and why. And perhaps not be as suspicious of others around you just because the narc rattled your cage shortly before. So yes, like and subscribe. Watch this to the end. I know it's long. And check out my older videos if this was helpful. Not my best work, I admit.